keep it under an hour. People will be trickling in as they trickle in. My name is Ivar, CEO, Commissioner, Director, whatever you want to call it, of Aegis Esports. This is going to be the captain's meeting for ACL as well as the draw show. I'm joined by Flay here. He is the Director of League of Legends for Aegis Esports. You can say hello, Flay.
Hey, how's it going?
And then I'm also joined by Benjamin, our head of production. He's going to kind of be handling the production you see in the stage, so make sure everybody tunes into his virtual camera that's there, because we'll have images, the draw show wheel, and everything on that screen. And then we'll also have Gordo here, who is one of our ACL casters, join us for the actual draw show itself, so he can add some context to some of the teams.
Hey everybody.
Yeah, awesome, cool. So we're just going to get underway. We're going to just pull up the rulebook. Benja, when you get a chance, we're just going to start quickly going through it. If you want to hide the stuff on the left, you can as well, Benja. It's up to you. No big deal if not. But pretty much our rulebook is pretty extensive. I'm not going to lie. If you guys want to follow along yourselves, it's in the stage links. You can open it up and take a look. We try to keep everything out of admin discretion. We try to, put all the niche cases possible that can happen during the league and the tournament in the rulebook. So it's everything's kind of laid out for everybody. You can start scrolling down, Benja. Just gonna go straight to the player, which is just making sure everybody discloses all their accounts. This is not really too crazy for ACL because it's uncapped. This is stuff that's more prevalent in our capped leagues, so we can keep scrolling down a little bit until we get to essentially the penalty table, unless you already skipped that. Yeah, can you go back up to the penalties table, Benja? Yeah. All right, so we have a lot of rules. Everybody comes to the rule books when something's going wrong. So at the start of the rule book, there's a penalty table that has references to pretty much every possible thing that you can think of. So if you ever want to come to the rule book and see like what the penalty is for something that's happening in your game, you can just go to the penalty table, click the reference, and it'll take you to the rule book. We know some of these stuffs are niche cases, so that's why we throw them in. But and with the extensive length of the rulebook, we have some penalties that are forgivable. Each team has 3 forgiveness tokens. Those are like stuff that we don't consider malicious, meaning forgot to report a name change, or you didn't use tournament codes for a game or something, stuff like that. Every team has 3 tokens that'll just be docked if anything non-malicious happens. That's the general gist of it. Flay, if it's all right with you, I'm just gonna go to like the key stuff in the rulebook. We don't have to really go through everything because I think everybody here has kind of already played in the amateur ecosystem.
Yeah,
is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Benja, I'll point you to what sections to go to, and we'll go from there. First thing I want to touch on is section 2.3 because it's prevalent for the draw show here, the sister team rule. We have a couple orgs that have multiple teams playing in the league. Since there are 4 groups, we do not allow sister teams to be in the same group to avoid any collusion, conflict of interests, throw a game so the other team can qualify or whatnot. So you'll see that laid out when we get to the draw show for those orgs. We can go down to 2.6, which is team lead, which is what we call our team captains. Team leads are pretty much responsible for roster changes and any communication between Aegis Esports and the team. So each team can have allocated up to 2 team leads plus their team owner for distinguishing what a team owner is, it's pretty much whoever paid the entry fee. If it's an org, if it's a player, whatever, that's what we consider the owner of the team. Okay, cool. Let's get to...
You want to talk about the format or no?
Yeah, you can talk about the format a little bit.
Sure. Format's pretty quick to explain. Shouldn't be too difficult. It's going to be a standard 4 groups of 8. You guys all play each other once, so it's a single round robin. And then top 4 makes playoffs, bottom 4 doesn't. Should be super simple. And we just enter basically a giant double Illidan bracket, which I'm sure you guys are all aware of. Everyone's starting the first round, the upper round. And then the only really differences between in standings and regular season is that once regular season concludes, your seeding basically determines your first round matchup. So obviously, if you're a pool 1 seed, if you're the first seed in your group, you'll play against another pool 4 seeds, and obviously you won't be facing against people from your group. So pretty straightforward. It's going to be very confusing. Just got to make top 4, and once you're in playoffs, it's double Illidan. And then the only thing that's, I guess, particularly unique is that once you get to the lower round semifinals and then upper round finals, it goes from best of 5 to best of 3, and we actually have a 7 o'clock start time. But we'll make multiple announcements about that. We do that so people don't lose sleep, and obviously you're able to reschedule anything that you need to. But pretty straightforward. Shouldn't be anything too confusing. And if so, just feel free to ask questions in the questions tab.
Yeah, and one more thing I want to point out: when we do start the playoffs, the lower bracket matches are on Monday. All regular season matches and all upper bracket matches will be on Friday. But once playoff starts, Monday is when lower bracket is. More announcements will be made. It's also on the cover sheet of the official sheet, and it was also on the application. Everything, so everybody should be aware. Holidays, we're gonna have some holidays that hit here. I believe Thanksgiving is the one holiday. Yeah, we won't have games that weekend, so just so everybody's aware. It'll be automatically accounted for in the rule book. Not the rule book, sorry, the official sheet. Okay, the big one is the roster additions and FRAs. Do you want me to explain that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we have something called FRAs, which are flexible roster additions. If you want to scroll down a little bit, Benja, they can see it. I'm just going to give you guys a TLDR. Once your team has had 10 unique players, you're only allowed to make 1 roster addition a week. If you have not used 10 unique players, you can have 2 roster additions a week. That's pretty much the gist of it. It's automatically coded into our sheet. You'll see it next to your roster, how many FRAs you have available. And by roster additions, I mean a new player being added to the roster. If you're moving positions around, adding alt accounts and stuff, that does not affect your FRA. It is just when you're adding a player. That's pretty much the gist of it. We want to keep the standard of ACL higher than other leagues. We expect players, players and organizations not to be swapping out entire rosters every week. That's the reason the rule's in there. I see a question. Okay. I'm going to move past that question, Marquez. Roster lock. Every Thursday at 8 p.m. EST is roster lock. That's just pretty much it. You can change your rosters before that. It's pretty straightforward. I'm sure everybody is familiar with this. If you have any questions, you can always ask us. Summer name changes, they're required for teams to report those at roster lock. So if you change your name after roster lock, penalties will ensue. So if you're changing your name, make sure it's reported 24 hours before your match.
And they're forgivable, so I mean, you should learn after like the 3rd time, basically.
Yes, exactly. Let me see this question. Roster lock is 8 p.m. EST before. Yes, 8 p.m. EST. This is because some people will schedule their match for 11 p.m. EST and then they'll submit a roster change at 10:54 at night, and we can't. Admins are not on to approve the roster change or anything, and then the gap of communication is there. So we just cut it off at 8 p.m. EST the day before. If your game is scheduled to 9:30, it's still 8 p.m. That's just the general practice we're moving towards. Okay, reserves. You want to scroll down to reserve declaration. You want to take this, Flay?
Sure. What's 1 second here?
4.1.
Yeah, so it's very quick understanding. It's probably the one thing about Aegis that's unique to any other tournament you probably played on. We have a reserve situation. What that basically means is that while you guys have 10-man rosters, I'm sure many of you guys are using it, you have to basically allocate your subs between regular subs and reserves. Regular subs function like they would in every tournament. Feel free to use them whenever you want, at any time in the match. Reserves are a bit special. They're basically, like their name implies, reserves. So if you want to use a reserve into a game, you're going to have to declare it before the game starts at the reserve declaration, which we actually post in the bot, but it's about 24 hours before your scheduled matches. You have to also let us know what player they're replacing. So for example, we would like to move player X in for player Y for said match day, and you would basically just, in the tournament chat, type that in. Should be pretty straightforward. And then if let's say an emergency happens, you have to use that reserve, you do take that 1 ban loss. And please be aware these are not forgivable, so you can't use your tokens for it. So if you ever want to use someone who's not in the listed 7-man, just make sure that the captain and ourselves are aware in the team channel. So pretty much it. And we'll also help you in your first week, so don't feel like there's too much situation. I need to confirm if a penalty for week 1 applies or not. Give me 1 moment here. No, it still applies for week 1, so yeah. Just be aware if you're going to have to use your reserve to declare that in the team chat, and you'll see that once all the rules are added. If you don't already have them.
Yeah, next thing we'll move to is emergency subs. Each team is allowed to submit emergency subs 5 times during the season. If the emergency sub pretty much is somebody that's not on your roster, subs or reserves that you want to request to play for your team. We know emergencies happen. That's what they're here for. If you do use this, there are ban losses that ensue. Just do note that if you submit your e-sub beforehand, before the reserve declaration, it's less ban loss than it is if it's after. These are waivable, meaning if the other team wants to waive the ban loss, they can waive it. If they do waive it, it is waived for the whole series. It's not a game-by-game thing. Mm-hmm. So if somebody decides to waive the ban loss for e-sub, it is for all games in the series. Side selection, it'll be determined on the sheet for game 1, who's blue and who's red side. There will be tournament codes, so nobody really has to make the lobby. The tournament codes will be posted every game day at 6 p.m. EST by the bot. Team leads will be pinged and they'll have access to it. The loser of each match has side selection for the following match. That's pretty much how it goes. So it's pretty standard in pro play, and I'm sure everybody is familiar with it. So that's just the practice we follow here. Side selection also win playoffs. Whoever's the higher seed will have to declare 24 hours before their match. Side selection. Cool. Let's keep it moving. Anything else?
I think there's anything else,
yeah, nothing else is crazy pressing. Like the game procedures, just make sure you're in VCs. With ACL, we allow coaches and captains and managers to stay in the VC muted. If we see people unmuting during games, we'll have admins here watching. It will take that permission away from everybody. So don't abuse it. You're allowed to stay in there muted, watch your team, listen to their comms. But with the moment we see something fishy happen, there'll be penalties, and that permission will be taken away from the league. Anything else to add on that, Flay, or?
No, I think the rest of the rules are more or less just generic, typical rules. Besides, I guess, like the match procedure stuff and pauses, but those are more discretionary based.
Yeah, those are. You guys can take your time to read through this when the time comes. I'm not gonna sit here and put you guys in school and read through every single rule. Just wanted to get the main stuff out of the way for you guys, so you guys have somewhat of a familiarity with how we operate. I guess the one thing I want to mention also for match results, we know a lot of the higher leagues match results are not prompt from teams. Please be prompt. Please make sure you submit them within 24 hours. We want to try to get stats uploaded as fast as possible. We have a whole stats website for you guys to use that also does some scouting for the teams in terms of picks and bans and all that jazz. So we want to get those in as soon as possible. There'll be a match result form for anybody on the team to fill out. You just throw the draft law links in there if draft law was used, and the screenshot of the post-game lobby. That's about it. I don't have anything else. Flay?
I mean, besides, honestly, just make sure you understand how reserves works, FRAs work. That's pretty much, I guess, the two really unique things about ACL compared to other leagues. Besides, that's standard procedure. Just be here on time. Don't be dumb. Play your games, win, and have fun. Yeah, pretty standard.
Pretty standard. Okay, cool. We can cut over to the draw show here.
Yep.
Awesome. The official sheet is up there in stage links. I guess this is not required for everybody to stay, so if you guys want to leave, you can, but we are going to go through the draw show here and draw the groups and create the schedule. If you go to the official sheet and go to the group draw tab, you will see if you scroll down a little bit, you will see the tiers of the teams we have developed based on various factors, average LP over the last 2 seasons, season 12, season 13-1 and 13-2, and performances in ACL, OQs, and whatnot. We did this to the best of our ability. At the end of the day, everybody can kind of know that sometimes seeding is not the best, but we're trying the best to make sure that groups are not skewed. How it'll work is each pool we put on a wheel, they'll be drawn and they'll be put into the group in the order of Demacia, Noxus, Piltover, Zon. If a sister team is drawn into the same group, it will just be moved to the next group. So, for example, if Mirage Alliance is in Demacia and then Mirage Alliance Development is also drawn into Demacia, they'll automatically be placed into Noxus. The next team that was drawn will be put into Demacia. Pretty straightforward.
And if you want to see a distribution of the pools, you just look at the example scenarios. Basically, one pool one pool five, and two of the other free pools in the group together.
Cool.
Besides that, Gordo, are you ready?
Yeah, I am.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Aegis Fall edition of this year's ACL. I'm here joined by Gordo and Ivor, which you heard. Right now we're doing the group draw. So pool 1 is a 4-group pool. So all these teams will not be facing each other in regular season by default because there are 4 groups. That is Team Fish Taco, Cincinnati Fear, Mirage Alliance, and Winthrop University. As you draw the teams and put them in, quickly talk about them, get an idea about them. And regarding the schedules, I'm sure someone's going to ask about that. After draws come in, you see the schedules and you get an idea. Remember, your first match is this Friday. With that, whenever you are ready, we can spin our first wheel to see who is the first team in the Demacia division. Well, it's going to stop. Wait.
Ooh.
Winthrop. So it looks like Winthrop University is our first team here. Now, Gordo, what are your thoughts here on Winthrop being drawn in Demacia, being our first team drawn in the first ACL split of fall?
Yeah, definitely a lot to be hyped about with all 4 of our first pool teams. Winthrop coming back with their promotion qualifying roster of Denethor, Sword, Mobility, and Chookies. I've been told Wakao is Trickster, so that's the full returning squad who were just playing in that NACL promotion tournament. So real excited to have these guys coming in to join us here.
100% here. Ivor, any thoughts from you?
No, I'll let you guys kind of handle it. I will be updating the groups live on that tab, so if you guys want to follow along there, you can as well as the image that is going to be on the screen from Benjamin's here.
Yeah, and as Gordo said, very experienced team. No surprise team in Pool 1 here. Going to start us off with Demacia. Now moving on to Noxus, who will be joining Winthrop in being drawn.
Ooh.
It's TFT.
Team Fish Taco. So there are 3 NACL finalists in this team, in Surdy, Young, and Meech. So these guys definitely coming in as probably the most stacked roster we have here. They top the charts in regards to what they've been able to accomplish in this last split. They're going to be joined by Winnie, who's coming back after a split off, and Trevor over at support.
And I mean, obviously, if they did technically get relegated, but picking up this new roster here, we'll see how they perform. And as you said, 3 NACL finalists, which should be very exciting here. Moving on to Piltover now, between Mirage and Cincinnati Fear.
Ooh.
Mirage Alliance, the defending ACL champions, actually.
Yeah, freshly NACL qualified, perhaps more importantly, returning ACL champions there. Mirage Alliance coming in with that exact same squad. It is going to be Alorum, Chad, Sudsy, Neo, and Dardoch. And these guys put on a great show in ACL just this last split. Now going to have, I think, a lot more competition here. They dropped very few games. There's definitely a lot of competition to potentially drop some games too this time around.
For sure. Could be a good, nice preseason run for him as they enter NACL this year, which means by default, we're in Zon. Obviously, we have to do it just for the sake of proving that we are not cheating. But this has to mean that Cincinnati Fear will be our Zon group whenever they are spinned and ready. Cincinnati Fear. What are your thoughts about them, Gordo?
All right. Yeah, full NACL squad coming in here. They got a couple of differences from their NACL summer roster, but they are bringing a Perry, Shochi, and Manui. They got a roll swap Toasty Alex in the top lane, fresh off a real great run with Team Coachify in the summer, and ex-Dig Challengers coach ZZ Legendary filling in at support. So maybe a little bit of a glimpse to what their roster coming into next year is going to look like, but these guys had a great run in NACL summer, and I was personally a big fan of them over on Salt Mine, my NACL podcast. I'm excited to see them here in ACL.
With that, concluding the Pool 1 draw, obviously we really have very little idea how the groups are going to shape up here because all Pool 1 teams were drawn individually. But Pool 2 is full of 8 teams, including 2 Lotus-affiliated teams and 2 CCG-affiliated teams. Be aware, again, they cannot be drawn with each other here. I'm going to have the wheel spin here for Demacia to see who's joining Winthrop University. Again, be aware of those sister teams. We have 2 here on both sides. Looks like that's going to be what Baby Paradise here.
Baby Paradise. Big breakout team from an ACL Qs just this past split. Aojun especially, somebody who really stood out to me. He's rejoining Little Pawn from Summer's Baby Paradise team, and then former NACL player Soul, encouraged by me to name swap back to Anime Girl, is coming out of the coaching role to replay top lane here. So exciting squad here to be joined by their coach from Summer, unretiring once again.
And now we move on to the Noxus division here. See who's joining TFT. But yeah, seeing Demacia shaping up. We'll see who joins Team Fish Taco here in Noxus. Looks like it's going to be Lotus Black here joining in.
Right, so that's Geiger, Psycho, and Pluto from last split's CB Gaming roster. Pluto was the coach, now also coming out of retirement alongside Soul to play in this next split. AHJ, Aj, not exactly sure on the pronunciation there, but he was a mid lane in some of the older Zenigma Eclipse rosters that we had around here. And then Castle coming back in the jungle, fresh off a solid split with GVU, and technically a reigning Aegis champ with TA Black. I don't think he's been back here ever since winning with them, so exciting to have him back as well.
And this also does mean that for the other Lotus team that cannot be drawn in Noxus, just be aware of that. But we're going to move on to Pilt over here as the groups get more and more divided. Currently 6 teams left here in Pool 2. Lotus Exile. So if the other Lotus team gets drawn,
the other Lotus team, there's a great argument for this team to be in Pool 1. City Witty, Rovex, and Lawrence from that very successful Coachify roster in the summer, just making it to the finals of NACL Q2. They're going to be joined by veteran jungler Shorter Ace in the jungle and AoE's own Dark Wings in mid lane, and some more NACL faces making their appearance here in the ACL for the offseason.
And with that, both Lotus teams are now drawn here from Group 2. I believe this Lotus organization also merging with CB recently. So getting to see how what this organization do now with more help. Moving on to Zon, though. 5 teams left to be drawn. And CCG Futures.
CCG Futures. I know Krim's been hyping up this team a whole bunch as a kind of upcoming developmental squad from the CCG squad. Going to be Summer Breakout Kryra joining a returning Crimson, and Ralik off of Fisher College. Baz B off of their Apex Mission Impossible squad that made a little surprising run, and Oakland University's Bello. So I believe almost everybody on this team is super new to the scene, hasn't gotten to play a whole bunch of splits before. That's real exciting. Looking at the next generation here from CCG Futures.
For sure. And I know Krim here trying to develop CCG Futures more in the amateur scene. Telling us he's trying to choose ACL to get this talent, and we'll see how they do here in Zon with NACL participant Cincinnati Fear. We're going to move back to Demacia here. 4 teams left. We'll see who's going to be joining Winthrop and Baby Paradise. It looks like it's the other CCG team, CCG Esports main roster.
Yeah, glad we didn't have to fudge any of the draws to move folks around here. So newly qualified NACL players Dragoon and Messages are going to be joined by Lunar off of a solid split with CCG. He's returning. And then Fnatic, who is another little unretired coach here. He was playing coach for CCG in this last split. Now going to be getting back on the Rift and is a big veteran to the Academy and AM scene. Joined by new support Just One, who is a new face to me. So excited to see how he's going to be able to fit in alongside a lot of these veterans.
Yeah, with that, both CCG teams drawn back-to-backs like the Lotus teams, which kind of leaves us only 3 teams left here. And into Noxus, it should be Aphoria, GHG, and Peach Cats, if I'm correct. And Peach Cats, one of a stronger Pool 2 seeds, so we'll see where we're going to end up.
Yeah, that's another one. I would have put 6 teams in Pool 1 here, by the way, while I'm giving you notes, Flay. These teams are crazy.
And it looks like Aphoria gets drawn here into Noxus, making TFT, Lotus Black, and Aphoria all in the same group here. Any thoughts on the Aphoria roster coming into ACL?
Yeah, it's kind of like a who's who of UCI rosters past here with Mike Young, Detro, and ACL mainstay Xiao Danny. They're going to be joined by Enthralled over at AD, and then Wildcard Gaming's Zamudo in the top lane. He's always one to play some wacky stuff up there, and I definitely want to be casting some Aporia games this split.
For sure, for sure. Leaving 2 teams now left. On to Piltover and Zon. Between Peach Cats, probably one of the stronger Pool 2 teams, as I said before, and GHG. And speaking of Peach Cats, they're going to draw in here with Mirage and Lotus Exiles in Piltover.
Yeah, making an assumption that Moose Lover is Moose Hater here.
Yes, yes.
Onat and Wixie coming back from his trip to Korea. Going to be an awesome NACL trio there. And they're going to be joined by, looking like Keel, also an NACL player. They're going to be coming on in from Wildcard. And then Isles, who was going to be on Wildcard for a lot of this split. That didn't end up manifesting, but love to have Isles here as well. He's been around the scene for a long time. A real talented support player down there.
And Gordo, as you know, the one group left, one team. Got a principle. You got to spin it.
Got to spin it.
GHG and Group Zon. Gentle Hearts Gaming.
Absolutely here. So this is the kind of teamless revenge core from this last split. It's got Diesel, Crocodon, and Inori B, who are going to be teamless no more, hopping on with Gentle Hearts Gaming. They're joined by Arian Dell and Pockus, who are fresh off a good run with Apex Mission Impossible. So we got to see these guys a little bit in Risen Champs already, and this team has been real fun to watch. Draft a lot of aggressive bot lanes for Inori B down there. I'm excited to see them over here in the Zon group.
And with that, we conclude our Pool 2 and Pool 1 groups now, having an idea how the pool is going on. Before we go into Pool 3 here, Gordo, any thoughts on these groups, kind of the early group of death so far, seeing the teams that have been drawn?
Well, so one thing I do want to call out is funny to see CCG Futures and Gentle Hearts Gaming both drawn into Zon, because they're in the same group over in Risen Champs as well. So I've already gotten to see these teams play against each other just last weekend. CCG Futures ended up taking that one, but it's cool that they're going to get to keep playing against each other as the season goes on. It's really tough to kind of call. Remind me which Lotus logo is which again? It's been 10 minutes and I already don't know anymore.
I want to say that the Noxus one is Lotus Black, while the Piltover one is Exiles, if I'm correct.
That is correct.
Okay. So the blue one is Lotus Exiles. Yes. I think Piltover is the group at that then.
Yeah, it's looking pretty tough here. We have Peach Cats, Mirage, and Lotus Exiles.
That's a stacked group.
And we have to rig it. We have to keep it interesting, though. We're going to Pool 3 now. With Mirage Alliance's development roster, Keep Paving Bot, which is the Lotus affiliated roster, Clown Gaming, Ole Miss, UCSD, St. Clair Saints, HU Storm, and Boston University returning to move up our Pool 3. Again, be aware before we spend this, Mirage Alliance and Keep Paving Bot cannot be in the same group as their sister teams. When you're ready, for you to spin the first team of Pool 3 joining will be the Demacia division with Winthorpe, Baby Paradise, and CCG.
This is the C-Law pool.
Mirage Alliance development.
All right. I like this squad. This is a lot of TA talent. Rest in peace. But so some great squad off the TA there. They got Hoarder, Levitate, and Snow. Kachu on the bench as well. And then Munchie off of some prior Lit Gaming and CCG rosters. And then professional positional coach himself, Draxer, coming into mid lane. We got a lot of coaches coming onto the Rift here, and they are going to be really fun to watch.
100% here. Now as we enter the Noxus, 7 teams remaining. But yep, that does remove the Mirage sister situation. Only leaving Keep Bathing Bot as an issue. And continue the C-Law streak. UCSD joining Noxus with TFT, Lotus Black, and Aporia.
All right, yeah. If you don't watch a lot of CLOL, you'll know this team is UCXD from Summer OQ1, where they were able to do pretty well. They were just narrowly missing the group stage over there. Holden and Protos went over to Genetics Gap, King Clueless over to Gentle Hearts, where they were both able to make runs all the way over to playoffs. So squad here together was not quite able to make it. Separately, they did make quite a bit happen, now rejoining back together as the CLOL season is getting kicked off.
And with that, we enter Piltover now here. 6 teams remaining. Let's see how it goes. Looks like it to be Ole Miss
Ole Miss. So it's the returning Ole Miss 2023 roster: Nemesis 9, Icelandic Hero, Uncle Sam, and Rhino at support, joined by reigning CLOL champ Shogo at ADC. So got a big upgrade over there in their bot lane. I already see these guys tweeting all over the place after how they've been able to perform at some of the early collegiate tournaments, and are now going to be paying their visits over to ACL and drawn into that group of death once again. By the way,
this group is kind of
keeps getting more dangerous.
This group's surely one of the groups of all time for sure. Now we're going to Zon, in which you have 5 teams remaining. This is going to be joined by Clown Gaming. They're making their uncapped debut here, taking, I believe, the old Zodiac Exiles roster, if I remember, or no, the old TDK roster, excuse me.
Oh yeah, they do have some TDK folks as well. Yeah, I think of them. I think of Excelsis and Debonair as being off of like California Irvine, and then joined by Debonair's APR teammate Cryogen from just this last split, and then the Water Buffaloes Unleashed. Boil the Oil, who was just a big force here in ACL just last split, and then AM mainstay Zev. We all know Zev. We've seen him in quite a few different teams over the last couple of years.
Yep. Circle back here, Demacia. Again, keeping track of Keep, Pathing Bot, not drawn in either Noxus or Piltover. So currently playing for Demacia. We'll see who gets drawn here. And speaking of that Lotus roster, it looks like it's going to be Keep, Pathing Bot. Looks like the Wheels Friendly does Gordo today. They're going to be in Demacia.
Very good. They all work out every time. Lavacious, Conveying, Sajed, and Che all rejoining from Spring's Lit Esports roster. And then newcomer Vinaka joining as jungle, a face that is pretty new to me, but alongside these 4 who were able to make a lot of noise with Spring's Lit Esports roster, it'll be a lot of fun.
For sure. Now we're going to enter Noxus here. Only 3 teams remaining. Should be, I think, St. Clair Saints, HU Storm, and Boston University, I'm correct. So I believe 3 collegiate teams off the top of my head.
All collegiate all the time. That's really how we've filled out this pool.
And so we HU Storm joining Noxus with TFT, Lotus Black, Aporia, and UCSD.
All right, yeah, HU Storm. That's kind of the Exodia Exiles team, if anybody is. It's Barlow and Makel on it, who were on that Exodia Exiles team that was able to do so well in ACL just last split. Pain Shell been here before as well with Meme City Esports, so they're all joining together now with their university to compete alongside the other CLOL squads. And now 2 CLOL teams here in Noxus group now.
Awesome. We have 2 teams left, and Piltover is on. We'll see if this Piltover team keeps getting stocked. Now, who do you not want to see here to kind of ease up this Piltover team, Gordo?
So between the 2, I think Boston University is the weaker of the 2. No flame, but
you got it.
It is going to get pulled there. So a rough look for Boston University here. St. Clair getting seated in here would have made this group absolutely nuts.
Yes.
So for better or for worse, Boston going to move on in here. They've got the same squad that they played in ACL with last split. They're promoting up sloppy thirds from reserve, but they had a solid run. Samakin, I think in particular, had a great split last split, both with Boston University here and with Weighing But Dynasty over in NACL Qs.
Yep, by default, that means that St. Clair Saints, so have to make it official, will be joining Zon here in the last group of ACL.
Right. St. Clair Saints. All right, they're returning after a little bit of a break in summer, but they were the 2nd place team in ACL. The previous split, looking really strong, like they could have taken it all. Coming into that final, ended up getting upset by California Irvine. Rock Boom has reached new heights since then, qualifying for the NACL with Lit Esports, and then Babinski is the newcomer at support. He was not with that squad the last time we saw the Saints.
And that wraps up our pool 3 draw here. Obviously, beforehand, we talked about the group of death. I think it's kind of more and more solidified here in Piltover. Between the other 3 groups, though, Gordo, any group of life, you think, that maybe a pool 3 team can kind of sneak in and make playoffs?
I think Demacia would be a real contender for that to happen for sure. And that's also because I think they have some really strong Pool 3 teams. I think Mirage Developmental has got some real solid talent over on there. I think Keep Happening Bot is nothing to be ignored either. And then, I think like teams like Baby Paradise, I think are a little more beatable. So I could see them making a move up there.
All right, with that, we conclude Pool 4 here. Now, Pool 4 is made up of Gang 7, Concert Gamer Squad, Akuma, WX Clan, Risen Esports your sponsor your team, Gravity Galaxy, Contingent Esports, and Tempest Gaming. And for these teams, obviously, not expected to make playoffs, so hopefully a favorable draw can get them in to get them top 4 into the double elim bracket of the playoffs. Whenever you're ready, give it a spin here to see who will be joining one of these teams in Demacia. WX Clan joining Demacia here. Thoughts on that group joining your projected group of life?
Yeah, and I mean, a projected group of life for me and a squad that I know probably the least about. I recognize Flocone, apologies on the pronunciation there. He's coming in from Havoc on this last split. The other 4 are all new faces to me. I can't find anything about these guys anywhere. So, gonna be a real wild card joining a group that we already think could have some upset potential in it.
Yeah, now we're going to see here of Nox. 7 teams remaining. Any of these teams that you're kind of looking for is kind of beating a potential upset candidate, Gordo, as we draw in this 7th, this next team in Noxus.
I like Gang 7 a lot. They're definitely one that I'm keeping a close eye on. Talk a little bit more about them once they get drawn, but
first we get Risen Esports, Risen Esports joining ACL here in the Noxus division.
Yeah, so this is basically the To The Arena team that played in one of the NACL Q's last splits. So that's Prod, Blonde, and Mitarima. Little Chimp joining from Northern Front, and Vox Trick, who is subbing on Helix's Grandpa Gamers. All kind of forming together with a new squad. See how they're going to be able to perform here. Getting drawn into this very interesting Noxus group now with a couple of collegiate teams and some newer rosters up above them.
For sure here. Now Piltover, kind of the flame group of death. If you get Gang 7 in here, it's going to be really interesting to see if someone can upset in here. But again, 5 teams remaining now, I believe, or 6 teams remaining, excuse me, before we get into drawn.
Yeah, I think that would be the pick.
Yes,
for sure, to make this as dangerous as possible.
That would be too obvious, though. No, we have to.
Akuma would be interesting too, though. That was going to be my second pick. I know it looks like I'm fudging it here, but I'm not. That would be my second choice. Grandview University's Prank Guru, joined by Akuma Classics, Hexmist, and Klexo. I feel like those 2 have been on like every Akuma roster in recent memory. I also recognize a Josu from his time over in the Divine League that I do a bit of coverage on as well. So. Cool to see them slot on in here. They've got some tough opposition, though. There's a firm top 4 in this group.
100%. I mean, obviously, without top 4, you can't really drop any of those games because, like you said before, you kind of expect the top 4 to beat up each other. This leads Zon with the only group now, about 6 teams. 5 teams left. We'll see who kind of joins Zon here. Watch out for Gang 7, as Gordo said. And these other Pool 4 teams could upset. We'll see here after the draw. It looks like it's going to be Tempest Gaming, though, sliding into the Zon division.
All right, so I know Chorps was on a previous Tempest Gaming roster, and Quick Slice as well has been on some Risen Divine League teams. I recognize him. He was actually in a squad with Sangul and Inori B back before a couple of splits ago. So a lot of the team has moved on since then, but these guys rejoining together for a Tempest Gaming crew. Seen a lot of iterations on this team over the years, so it'll be interesting to see how they're able to do here in Zon.
4 teams left. 8 spots to go. Not even including the Pool 5 teams, which are, really true wild cards. You think about it. We're going to have another spin here. And we're going to see. But Gang 7 Dream still available. Gang 7 and Akuma, Gordo, thoughts?
Oh, I have to see. I think that would be a fun one. Gravity Galaxy, though.
All right. Risen team.
Maybe it's possible. I don't know all of them off the top of my head. I just know the ones I've covered. But the multi-role talent Saknam is going to be joined by a set of new folks who I've not had a whole bunch of experience with. Maybe they are in Risen, as you say, they're Flay, in which case they'll have gotten a little bit of extra practice coming on in to the start of ACL this week.
For sure. Now 3 teams left. Nox is Piltover Zon still looking for their last team. We're going to see another spin. And it looks like it's going to be Contingent Esports here actually joining Noxus.
All right, a wholly revamped roster here since the last time we saw Contingent. They got Wen joining in from Chaotic Solar, who were able to be pretty successful last split. And then Sage, is it Sage Wabe, Sage Wabe? I'm not sure there, from Havoc Gaming in summer, are rejoined by some new faces as well.
Yep, that means 2 teams left. Gang 7 and I believe a Casa Gaming.
Yep.
Both interesting to see who we're going to drop here in the Piltover division.
A new squad versus one we've had in ACL for a while, and we're going to draw the veterans first.
Mhm.
Right, Costa Gamer Squad. They've been an ACL mainstay the last couple of splits. They're coming in with some changes. They got Retro Zing swapping from top to support. Eon Crystal and Heal It Up running it back, and then they add in newcomers Idol and Kawhi Aruru at 80 carry and top.
Yeah, gotta speed this up here. Gang 7, the draw on the Zon. While that happens here, Gordo, I've kind of seen the initial groups. Kind of initial impressions here of kind of in the groups. Is there any, pool 4 team that could realistically make it into the top 4? Obviously, it's pretty stacked against you, considering the fact that you're more or less projected to finish, 6th and 7th, if the pools are more or less correct. Any of these teams, how do you think have a chance to sneak in top 4?
It's going to be stacked against them. I still think Gang 7 have a solid shot there. Steel City Warrior, fresh off a Risen Divine League title with TDKV, going to be joining Caster's Nightmare Ben Guy with his latest abomination of a solo queue name, and Garrett Meyerson himself. Coming up against, CCG Futures is still a really young squad. Gentle Hearts Gaming, they're dangerous, right, from Teamless Revenge, but still a squad that, if a couple of the right things go wrong, could be beatable. Clown Gaming and St. Clair Saints, nothing to scoff at either. Yep. But I think there's, if anybody's got some potential to do it, I already pegged this team as one of my stronger teams, and I think there's definitely some beatable upper seeds here too.
All right, with that, we're about to enter a pool 5 seeds. Now, obviously, these pool 5 seeds, kind of a class, I guess, below the rest of the competition, where we only had 4 pool 1 seeds that cut above the rest. I guess the opposite, couple over everyone else. And we have here ID Neon, Movie, SCAD Esports, and Oxford University Esports. Really not a lot of knowledge about these teams. We'll kind of see how we're going to do here. First one being drawn in Demacia. Is there any of these teams? I guess we'll do the draw here. I'll ask you a question.
Yeah, well, this is the one that if you're going to ask me, do I know any of these teams? This is the one that I know. Iridescent Dawn, Neon, Hype Team. They were in Risen Divine League last split. They were a favorite of the casting crew over there. They ended up in 3rd place. Keep your eyes on Meow Meow Mix in the top lane. He was especially a favorite over there. And this team was able to create some crazy series. They were able to get some crazy upsets in there. They made a real deep run. And they're keeping that exact same squad together. So they've got experience together as well coming into this split.
So it looks like that definitely, at least sounds from your perspective, as the more favored pool 5 seed drawn in Demacia. The other 3 teams here, kind of see how it goes on here. Unto Noxus here. Again, anything can happen, of course, but yeah, these are definitely not known names, at least in the scene.
Definitely. Oxford is the one I know the least about, and it's looking like they're going to be the selection here. I know Inmate Poe and Random Capitals are playing over on We Love Solbert in Risen Champs. I know you're familiar with them on We Love Solbert as well. The rest of them are unfamiliar faces, so that's going to be a wild card team to me.
100%. I mean, and the familiarity of these guys is mainly more in the Masters Elo scene. So I've never really seen these guys compete at this level. They've kind of shown decent promise at the lower levels, but obviously we have a pretty big step up here and facing against some real talent here in the Noxus group. 2 teams left, 2 draws. Let's see who's going to be drawn here into the Piltover division, and then of course is on division by default.
All right, movie. Got Asadero, Positive Pete, and Belko Experiment all returning from Meme City Esports last split. And then Loki and Ninja Senpai will join to try to turn that record around from how they were able to perform last time around. Yeah,
but Meme successor here didn't perform so great, as you said, in ACL last split. I don't think he even made playoffs, if I recall correctly. So we'll see how they do. In a very tough division, I will say. Maybe they can, get a new spark here. With that being said, there's only one team left, Gordo. That is SCAD Esports.
All right. Coming on up here, that's going to be Janikar and Nick Nix are the faces I recognize from Primal Instinct Black. I know Nick Nix is going to be a sub to start things off. But Primal Instinct Black was a super interesting team last split. They were lower ranked. They qualified for Risen Divine League, Masters League, stuff like that. But they were still able to put up a fight. They took a lot of wins. They made playoffs. So see if they can keep over some of that magic with this SCAD squad.
Yeah, if I recall, actually, I think they're the lowest pre-ranked team last year in ACL to actually make playoffs. So really, if any of these Pool 4, Pool 5 teams that kind of more or less proved it, maybe this SCAD team here may have a favorable draw here, as you said before, of Zon, CCG, GHG, even Clown, not exactly super proven. So maybe they could sneak in there with Gang 7.
Yeah,
Besides
maybe this is the real group of life, really, when everything's all said and done. It depends on if you're like a Pool 3 team. I think Group of Life is Group A. If you're a Pool 5 team, though, Group of Life is Zon for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, pools are set up, and of course, it's going to be a long way, about 7 weeks until we get playoffs. But, looking at these teams and seeing the pool now and kind of an idea, any kind of opinions on early favorites or contenders to kind of win ACL potentially, or you have to see them play out more in the playoffs? Obviously, a lot of these top teams are not going to face each other until maybe even later on in playoffs to begin with. So,
yeah, for sure. I mean, there's the pool. Like I said, I think Pool 1 should have been at least 6 teams, right? There's definitely some. Yeah, there's definitely some of the Pool 2 rosters that look like they could be real competitive with the top 4. But yeah, I do think those top 4 are just so ridiculous. Team Fish Taco is an easy team to root for, especially after how much Surdy, Young, and Meech were able to do last split. And I'm a big Winnie fan as well. Happy to have him back. So if I got to pick a team right here, right now, I think TFT is my choice.
All right, awesome.
As boring as it may be.
Hey, man, nothing wrong with being boring. And being safe gets you the win. Besides that, thank you, everyone, for joining. The groups are posted in the Group Jaw tab here at the Aegis Champion League fall sheet. That's going to be in the actual little quote-unquote stage links as well, also in the announcements for ACL. Besides that, the schedule will come out very, very soon. When it comes out, you need to reschedule. Obviously, reach out to your opponent. There's going to be a tab in your Discord called the ACL, literally called the ACL. Where is it? Okay, here, I'll try to find it. ACL reschedules. It's very specific. If you need to reschedule, just post a screenshot of your agreement and just add us, and then we'll approve it, more or less. But yeah, be aware. The only thing I have to say here, I guess, for regular season is be aware that there is a 11-5 cutoff for all regular season games to be done. And that's basically, if I recall correctly, the Sunday before the playoffs begin. Playoffs do begin on a Friday of the upper round, if everyone makes it. So be aware you have about, more or less, about a little less than a month and a half to reschedule every game if you need to reschedule. But until then, every game Friday, 8 p.m. EST. Thank you for joining, everyone.
I'll add one thing before you guys start departuring. Couple things. Roles will be out tomorrow for your teams. We'll ping you once roles are made so you guys can self-react to get your team roles. 2, I know standard practice, usually people tend to DM admins. I would really appreciate it if we try to keep everything centralized in the Discord. You all will have team text chats made once you have your role, as well as a ticket system. You can ask questions there. You can open tickets. We just prefer to have everything centralized so we have everything transcribed in case one admin is not here. So if it's really big of an emergency, you can DM us, but try to keep all questions in the Discord. Your application tickets will be closed later tonight or tomorrow once we confirm everything with you guys there. And besides that, I just want to say thank you to Flay, Gordo, and Benja, who have been working tirelessly over the last couple of days to get everything situated and everything set up for you guys. And we're excited for everybody to compete this season. And best of luck. Thank you.
Appreciate everyone. Thank you.
Yep. One more thing, if I may. I know everybody's already dipping out. No problem there. Yeah, feel free. Myself and TDS, our DMs are open all the time. If you got any notes on the broadcast, got any beats you want to make sure that we hit, we'll probably be reaching out to you guys as well. I won't be here this Friday, but Slayer will be taking care of you guys then. And yeah, really excited to cover you guys. Have a great season.
Take care,
appreciate everyone.